Now, for a review of what's making the headlines in the papers this morning, let's bring in a RISE analyst, Constance Ikwoku. Good morning, Dr. Constance.
Morning, Yolanda. How are you today?
Great, thank you. Yourself?
I'm well.
That's
good to see you.
Likewise.
And morning to Charles and Nkechi.
Good morning, Dr. Constance.
I hope you guys are doing great.
Yes, perfect.
All right. To look at the papers with us this morning, we have Dr. Austin Maho. He is a lecturer at the International Institute of Journalism in Abuja. Hello there and welcome to the program. We'll begin with this day.
Good morning.
In this day, presidency, Rivers Governor Fubara teleguided militants to blow up pipelines in the state. Here, the presidency is giving grounds still for the emergency rule declaration in Rivers State. It has accused Governor Sim Fubara of failing to stop or condemn the pipelines that were blown up. We're hearing this allegation from the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice, Lateef Fagbemi. Fagbemi said, and I quote, as of today, we still rely largely on oil. For anyone to touch these pipelines is not only the enemy of rivers, he is the enemy of Nigeria. So, I mean, that's the bottom line. You know, the government, or the goose that lays the golden egg cannot be tampered with. The government seems to be saying clearly here, they need to keep those oil wells flowing. That's what is happening, Dr. Maho.
Oh, well, what do I say? To me, it seems more like giving a dog a bad name in order to hang it. You know, Fubara is not the commander-in-chief. He doesn't command any the security forces in Nigeria. So you cannot lay the blame on him that, look, he failed to act when militants threatened to blow up pipeline. So it's like pushing the blame on him in order to justify, you know, the state of emergency that has been declared in Rivers State, which a lot of people have come against and call an illegality. So I don't know. However, we say, you know, we are on this side. Is the Attorney General of the Federation. We don't know the security report he has on his desk that he's relying on to make such a pronouncement. But however, to me, like I said, it seems like giving a dog a bad name in order to hang it. There's no way Fubara, a chief executive of a critical state like Rivers State, would have lent his voice to militants who have, or aided militants, you know, to embark on destruction of national assets like a crude oil pipeline. To me, it's just ridiculous. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up.
And also, Mr. Fagbemi was talking within the context that, you know, for so many years we were losing a lot of oil to oil theft and the rest of it. So they've been able to increase the production from 900,000 barrels per day to about 1.5 million now. And the goal is to continue to increase that. So I think this was threatened and the government decided to act. Well, we're still having more reactions from that declaration of state of emergency, and we will see that in the next paper that we're looking at this morning, which is Daily Sun. Rivers emergency, shall we say Daily Sun. Rivers emergency tempers flare in NAS. NAS is the National Assembly. Senate fails to get majority to approve emergency rule. Steps down business for today. Reps in rowdy session failed to muster required number to act. This is happening as Ibas, the new appointed sole administrator for Rivers, has taken oath of office. So this rowdy session, both at the Senate and the House of Reps, was expected. Not all lawmakers want to vote in favor of the state of emergency that has been declared. At the same time, Dr. Maho, what is the import of their action when, you know, the army has obeyed the president already? Ibas has taken oath of office. What do you foresee if the members are unable to get the numbers that they need to approve this action by the president?
As it was saying, the president seems to have put the cart before the horse. The president didn't follow, lay down constitutional provision in carrying out his action. You know, we always say that Nigeria is a democracy. It's a constitutional democracy based on the rule of law. That's what is holding us together as a nation. And anything the president of a federation would do, like Nigeria, it has to follow laid down procedure. It has to be based on what the Constitution says. In this case, Section 309. After the president, a lot of people have weighed in on this issue. And I align with many of them. After the president made his proclamation declaring a state of emergency in Rivers State, expectedly it should have been gazetted. After gazetting it, you pass it to the National Assembly. And at the National Assembly, you are expected to get 2/3 majority of all members, not quorum members, of all members of both houses of the National Assembly before it can scale through. But like I said, the Mr. President seems to have put the cart before the horse, and from available information we have, the President certainly is going to have a Herculean task, you know, getting the necessary vote in the National Assembly to, you know, to get through what he has already done. To me, it's still not a fait accompli. If the vote is defeated in the National Assembly, the president better be advised, in order for him not to throw Nigeria into a constitutional crisis and set a dangerous precedent, the president better be advised to reverse his steps.
Well, you know, if he doesn't get the number, like 2/3 majority are required of all members, both at the Senate and the House of Representatives. Charles, you wanted to say something?
Yes, I find it rather curious that at a critical moment like this, when this was happening, I'm very sure the members of the Senate were well aware of this situation. And when the president made that declaration, it would have been responsible of them to have come together, because this was, I'm sure they must have gotten the orders the day before. And then on the day when they were supposed to have made a proclamation on this, most of them went missing in action. That's what I find really, really strange. And then in the House of Representatives, where they turned out in their numbers, they just couldn't arrive at a compromise as to how to proceed with that state of affairs. So yes, the vibe is there that the National Assembly is probably not on the same page with the presidency on this matter.
I think we'll see that today to understand where the National Assembly actually stands. They have several options. They can give the president his 2/3, 240 from the Green Chamber, 73 from the Red Chamber. They can limit or widen the scope of that proclamation before they ratify. They can outrightly reject it, or I think the way they might be towing is a filibuster. Let's argue this until the 48 hours is passed and nothing happens. But I think the interesting parties that I want to see on the floor are the opposition lawmakers and the lawmakers from Rivers State. I'm really interested to see what they think about the proclamation, including the suspension of the governor, the deputy governor, and also the House of Assembly members.
Well, Nkechi, see, when all this is going, or while all this is going on, shall we see New Telegraph? It says here that the federal government has released, or is going to release, Rivers allocation to the sole administrator. So there's a problem here, because if at the end of the day you don't get the 2/3, does that invalidate what has happened already? So
yes,
it's interesting to see how this takes shape.
If it doesn't, like Dr. Maho said, if it doesn't, it makes it null and void. The sole administrator should have not been sworn in until after that 48 hours to understand where the National Assembly stands.
A rolling crisis we're looking at. So we'll see what happens at the National Assembly today. Let's move on to Leadership newspaper. Price hike likely as Dangote resumes sale of petrol in dollars. Dangote refinery says it will now sell refined petrol in dollars until the government resumes the crude for Naira sale agreement. Here we go again. Yolanda, if you want to jump in here, what more are we hearing on this? Or, I mean, it means that petrol is going to go up again. And I thought that they had arrived. Yes, go ahead.
Further straining the household budgets that are, you know, strained as much as they are already. So it's quite sad to see this, and it was a short run. You know, we believed that the price would continue to go down, and as we assessed it in the past few weeks coming forward, the 2 deductions that we had seen, And now this, it's a bit of a downer for this, so sincerely.
It is a disappointment for many
I'm
farmers.
curious to see what happens in the weeks to come and what type of price ranges, what type of changes we're looking to see in terms of the petrol.
Yep, we'll be monitoring that.
I think we need to understand the reason why this Naira for crude agreement or talks collapsed, because Reuters reported last week that they had spoken to NNPC, and NNPC said, look, we're still in talks to come back to the table and continue this Naira for crude agreement. So we need to understand why there's that collapse in this agreement, or why they're not coming to the table to continue this, because I think this was a good move for Nigeria. In Nigeria, when things go up, we don't usually see them coming, prices go up, I mean, we don't usually see them coming down. So for it to come down and for Nigerians to be anticipating a much more increase, it's really sad to see, and I hope they come back to the table and get it right.
Well, the initial agreement expired.
It expired,
actually.
but they continued, they started
so that's
talks,
why, Yes, they restarted talks.
Yeah.
Okay, New Telegraph. SDP were ready to resume, rescue Nigeria as a national movement, rules out merger with other parties. I mean, good intentions, as expressed by the Social Democratic Party, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions too. And with all these politicians flocking into the SDP from other parties, we'll have to wait and see indeed if this is the movement to deliver Nigeria. You are laughing so much, Charles.
I am laughing, and I will continue to laugh all the way, because it's the same crop of politicians. Excuse me, where are you coming from? If we were talking about a new, fresh set of individuals, then I would have said, okay, there is hope. But then, when you have a group of disgruntled politicians who are living the traditional political stalwarts, the APC and the People's Democratic Party, and then coming to join the SDP, that was probably one of the docile, in quotes, parties, then that infusion of confidence, where is it coming from? Are they going to give us anything different? Do they have a different mindset? No, I don't think so. Right. It's just going to be a lot of noise, and well, I definitely will not be betting on them at all, and I will continue to laugh at the sounds they are making. It's ridiculous.
All right, let's move quickly to the Punch. Minimum wage, NYSC to spend 307.6 billion naira on corpus mobilization. This is based on the increase in allowances from 33,000 naira to 77,000 naira as announced by the National Youth Service Corps in September 2024. But this increase is yet to be implemented 5 months after announcement. Dr. Maho, it's difficult to imagine living on 33,000 naira, although plus whatever stipend that is offered by the place of assignment of the copper. But yeah, it's a tough one for coppers, Yeah,
it calls to mind the lamentation of one Rita Uche, who broke the internet last week when she, was forced to come out to make a video that a lot of people condemned and a lot of people commended, because it's a reflection of the state of the nation and what an ordinary corps member serving Nigeria is going through. And also, at this point in time, when you look at that humongous amount of money, 370 billion, to be expended on corps members' allowances, what comes to mind is also the fact that we need to do a cost-benefit analysis. A lot of people have asked questions of the relevance of the NYSC as currently constituted, to the benefit Nigeria derive from it. When you expend so much money, what is the benefit? Do we need to rejig NYSC as it is, or does it need to be scrapped? The debate is out there. And with this figure out there, it further heightened the debate. We need to talk about it. Does NYSC need to be restructured, or does it need to be scrapped altogether? Because you cannot send people out on the field to go and do national service, and you are paying them 33 1,000 naira a month, which we all know the state of the economy in Nigeria today. It's like sending somebody to suffering, and it's not worth it.
Dr. Maho, I enjoyed my youth service, and I used the opportunity to learn more about Nigeria. I don't know about you, Nkechi Charles. Did you enjoy your youth service?
I mean, I did enjoy my youth service, and I agree with you, Dr. Constance. I think the NYSC, for all its flaws, represents one of the attempts, I think, to engage the young demographic, right? To allow people to go to other states, like you said, to learn other people's culture, to even get work, and just to get them, push them into that workforce. However, the way it's been managed is another question. Yes. The social trust when it comes to what the government says, or I think the gap between policy announcements and policy implementation is the issue that we're seeing here.
You know, it was a different era when I served. So, I mean, the cost of living
What era?
What era? How old are you?
You'll be surprised.
Okay.
But, you know, let me say this.
Quickly,
when I served, our monthly allowance was less than 1,000 naira. And I lived very well on it. I mean, no complaints. So, things have changed. The economic realities are vastly different.
Right.
30,000 naira, I use that. It's less than what I used to fuel my car every week.
Okay, we have The Guardian. We might not be able to discuss this, but let's just share the headline. EFCC arrests Bauchi AG, others over alleged 70 billion naira fraud. And there's another story, very sad one. Many feared dead, cars burnt as tanker explosion rocks Abuja. Let's move on to the international headlines. We have here a Daily Graphic. Government revokes small-scale mining licenses. This was issued mostly under the previous administration, and this is happening as efforts to curb illegal activities in forest reserves and water bodies take shape. Let's also see Citizen. Anarchy as cops block highway. We learned that these cops from the city of Ekurhuleni were demanding better wages and better working conditions. And then Daily Mail this morning, what being in space for 288 days does to your body. That's the photo of Sunita Williams, aged 59, who was stuck in space for almost a year with a colleague. The result, she aged tremendously. Look at that before and after photo. Yolanda, I don't know if you want to go to space.
Not at this rate. When I first saw the picture yesterday, that was actually the first thought that came to my mind. I said, wow, 288 days. She looks like she has aged so much. And it's really interesting that, you know, something that was supposed to start only for 8 days turned into 288 days is almost a good and a bad, because it's teaching us a lot of things. It's showing us the effects of what it is like in space, what it does to the body. You know, they were talking about how this can lead to muscle atrophy and bone density loss. And look at her hair. It's completely changed in color. It looks like she's aged 10 years. So I think there's a lot to explore about this. There was also mention of how, because of a lack of gravity, the heart doesn't pump in the way that it normally would. And so all of these factors are key for, you know, educating the masses on what the future might hold for, you know, going to space.
Well, thank God that they're back safely.
Let's
look at our final newspaper, a Daily Telegraph. France to hand citizens a guide on what to do if we're invaded. The French government denies that this 20-page booklet is being produced as a result of Russia's war in Ukraine. But French President Emmanuel Macron is urging Europe to prepare to confront Russia and the threat and the possibility that America is disengaging from the continent. I mean, the German parliament is already going to vote on increasing funding to arm the country. The whole of Europe is trying to rearm itself. And Germany has for so many years been a pacifist country. For Germany to wake up, it's changing. Dr. Maho, you want to quickly, you know, we're out of time, less than 20 seconds.
Europe is in war mode as a result of the Ukraine-Russia crisis. Or evidently, we don't know how far it will go, but there seems to be a spike you know, in the attitude of most European nations, you know, towards Russia, because they are not sure of what the future hold. But however, we do expect that the preparation towards a likely World War III is turned down with the peace initiative being undertaken by Trump to bring Ukraine and Russia to a ceasefire agreement and ultimately bring about peace in Europe. But at the end of the day, I think Europe has fundamentally changed. The future shows that Europe will want to take its destiny in its own hand rather than relying on the United States, you know, for protection, security protection.
A huge challenge there. On that note, we have to say thank you so much, Dr. Austin Maho, a lecturer at the International Institute of Journalism in Abuja, for joining us today.
All right,
Good morning.
Thank you so much, Arise News analyst Dr. Constance Ikoku, for taking us through the newspaper headlines this morning. And that's all we have for you here on Daybreak. Thanks for watching. I am Nkechi Nana.
And I'm Charles Eruka. It's goodbye from me.
I'm Yolanda Robert. Please do keep it here on Arise News. The morning show is next. Goodbye.